Morning, Commissioner.
Good morning.
Let's call the meeting to order. Drew?
Pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America, and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice.
Present.
Yes. Here.
All right. HFA, Brandon. You're up.
Thank you. Yes, I am here to report on the 2026 Emergency Solutions Grant and North Dakota Homeless Grant Awards. We held an application round in May and made our ranking and scoring selections and have executed financial awards for this next fiscal year. The Emergency Solutions Grant is our federal grant program, receives from HUD. We receive a small state minimum of $489,698. And then it requires 100% match minus the first 100,000. So we take 389,000 of the North Dakota Homeless Grant and use that as our state match for that program. So in total, we awarded $842,696 in this program. We received 11 applications requesting $1.5 million and 6 agencies were selected. And I provided you with a list of those agencies that were selected. Presentation Partners in Housing, SEMCA, which is the Community Action in Fargo, United Way of Grand Forks, the ICA, which is the Institute for Community Alliances, is our HMIS software lead. So that's the organization that manages our homeless data. And then Civic and YWCA and Grand Forks Homes. 100% of the Emergency Solutions Grant funds were allocated in this round. And then the North Dakota Homeless Grant, which is our state-funded homeless program. Initially, it was modeled after the Emergency Solutions Grant, but over time, we're making some adjustments to some of the eligible things to make it a little bit more flexible than the federal dollars, including that the rents can exceed fair market rent and that we serve individuals that are 50% area median income instead of the extremely low that DSG requires. The funding level that we made available for this second year of the biennium is $4,168,302. We received 29 applications requesting $7.7 million and 17 agencies were selected for funding. And the summary of awards is attached as well to this agenda. And so we fund very similar organizations, but then a few additional, including AARC in Bismarck and Northlands Rescue Mission. So we fund with these programs, emergency shelter operations, street outreach, rapid rehousing and homeless prevention, which those are short-term rental assistance and housing stability and case management. What you'll notice is that there's a lot of renewals that come over. It's the similar awards from last year. There are some from last that didn't make it through. And part of that because we base our awards on performance measures, ability to expend dollars and things like that. Just a note on where we've allocated this second year's bienniums dollars. 41% of those dollars went to emergency shelter operations, and then 42% are going to that short-term rental assistance and housing stability. So we're trying to slowly increase the awards to the homeless prevention and rapid rehousing, because emergency shelter is really the last resort. We'd like to keep them in housing, keep them rehoused rather than having them enter the emergency shelter. So if we put a little bit more funds towards those, hopefully we can reduce the numbers that are trying to get into shelter.
What is short term?
Short term can mean between 0 and 24 months. So not more than 24 months. And that includes rental arrears. So you can pay with the North Dakota Homeless Grant up to 12 months of rental arrears to help somebody get caught up and then stabilize them for at least 12 months. Most of the time, our organizations, based on the dollars that they receive, they limit the amount of funding to 6 to 9 months. And really, it's a matter of how good the case management is to get that individual's budget reorganized to help them get access to SNAP and TANF and other things that might help them to pay their rent better. Any other questions? Just a report, no action needed.
Thank you.
I would just make a comment. Thanks for all your help on the task force too.
Thank you.
We
met with them a couple times as we continued through this, and you guys have been, I mean, really helpful in getting a lot of people who care about this to understand what is available and what structural tailwinds and headwinds exist. And unfortunately, in this space, we have more headwinds than tailwinds. But so I have one more. Like you said, we had 7.7 million applied for, and I'm assuming if we had more than 4.1 million, we could have deployed more than 4.1
Oh,
million.
yes, for sure.
Some of those probably don't. I mean, like you said, carryover, lack of action, that kind of stuff.
Yeah, there are some applicants that have some compliance issues and spending issues that they need to get their house in order before we're going to fund them, especially federal dollars. We would focus new applications. So one of the things that we can't do today is if, say, the city of Bismarck, who's working on a low barrier shelter, came in, we have zero funding available for them. And so it's hard to get new applications through, especially if we're rewarding those performing. The other thing is Community Action Partnership receives $2 million, and they deploy those funds to all 8 regional community action agencies to do that housing stability and short-term rental assistance program. They definitely have the need to expand in all 8 regions. They could use more case managers. They could deploy more funds, especially now that we all have our feet under ourselves as far as how it works with them, because last year was the first year we funded that. I think we're doing pretty good now. We could probably deploy up to 4 million to them and they could spend it in a year.
Thank you. I was walking with the governor's policy advisor this morning, and we were discussing these meetings. I always marvel at how evident it is the amount of work that goes in by so many people on this, and the summary materials are excellent every time. And just we deeply appreciate the work that goes into your daily mission and lives, and then also the work that you do to make it transparent to the mission. Thanks.
All right.
There you go.
Okay. I'm just presenting and updating me to our down payment closing cost assistance program income limits. We originally set all that stuff in June, and then after visiting with some lenders and internal discussions, we decided that the DECA program income limits would be better to be more specifically county aligned. In June, we had set them at 63,300 for Burley, Cass, McKenzie, McLean, Morton, and Oliver, and then 60,000 for all others. So in July, we recommended and the board approved additional income categories for certain counties. Just to be the greatest benefit to our eligible borrowers. This is a program that's geared to the lowest income that we serve. So Dunn and McKenzie counties saw the greatest increase, going up to 71,550 annual income to be eligible for the down payment closing cost assistance program. And these changes went into effect on July 15th.
Any questions?
Okay, next item we have for you is just an update on our housing portal. I'm not sure if we've mentioned this to you before, but we do a housing needs assessment every couple of years that comes out right before session starts. So we work with the NDSU Center for Social Research. They're kind of our research arm that we tag team with, and they do the update and do our projections looking out usually about 5 years, but we're also going to have them do a 10-year projection. You know, that gets a little bit convoluted a little bit when you go out 10 years, but at least kind of gives us a little bit of a direction. So that should be hopefully done, Jen, middle of September, we're hoping-ish.
We want numbers by beginning of
But
September.
beginning of September. I know they said, we talked to them last week, they're working on it. It's come along real well. But along with that, for years, we've wanted a place where we can put this online for people to easily get these numbers. The report that comes out is usually about 250 pages with lots of data points. That's hard to crunch the numbers. So we get a lot of calls from different cities and municipalities wondering on different things. We're like, can we find a portal where people can crunch these numbers? So these are some screenshots from our portal. That's housed with NDSU, and there's different things that you can crunch on there. So one of them, the first page there is demographics. So it shows all the demographics of North Dakota, average age, total population. There's different numbers you can crunch. It's got population projections. There's different subcategories. Select, do it by full state, by the 8 planning regions, you do by the 12 major cities, by county, and then the tribal reservations. That's on there. The next one, screenshot.
Can I interrupt you a second? Does the legislature ever mandate what statistics and data points you collect and that you get report back to them at a whatever interval? Is that every session or every year, whatever it might be?
Yeah, the only one they do is for HIF. They want to report on HIF. Is there any necessary data points they want? I think they want to
I
see
call
where.
them data points.
That's my,
Yeah,
I've just been asking around, government, including us, lately, that question. So, but there aren't a lot of mandates. You have some things that you want.
Not as far as
stuff
data
you need
points.
to Decide what you want to put in there.
Right.
and most of this is census data points that are all readily available. And then NDSU takes them and is able to create data points that are regional and bring it down to this level here. But it is from census data that we're using.
Yeah, so it uses census data, American Community Survey, and other stuff we'll get into here a little bit too. Uses some sales ratio data from the tax department, and then we also have all the multiple listing services throughout the state. We worked with all them to get all their data and put that in here as far as home sales and that kind of data too. We hear from a lot of smaller cities wondering what average price points are and average rents are for homes they're looking to build, and it's hard to find that. So they have a one-stop shop now. They can do that. So the second one, there's just some housing characteristics showing total housing units, vacant versus occupied, median home sale. Again, you can do that by state, region, city. Third one there,
That's pretty remarkable. 46,000 vacant house units.
yeah. And then down on the bottom right there, you can see what that vacancy kind of consists of too. And I think that's one thing we've kind of pointed out to some cities too, is when we look at housing units, how many are sitting vacant, not used? I mean, I know in my neighborhood, I live just south of the Capitol here. There's 2 houses that are vacant. One's been vacant for over 15 years. And he just refuses to do anything with it. So it's like I've talked with cities, is there a way we can get those back on the market, either rented or sell them?
Mm-hmm.
We just had a conversation with Fargo a couple weeks ago about that, with the mayor. He said, yeah, there's ways as far as meter data and that kind of thing, whether they're actually living there or not.
It'd be interesting to incentivize people putting those back into that's a lot of houses, obviously.
Yeah.
For
You know,
what
and
units.
some of the snowbirds are counted in there too, because it's seasonal. So some of that data in there too. The third exhibit there, I think, is interesting too, because as we've looked around the United States as far as portals, there's only about 15 states that have some sort of portal like this, but none of them have this kind of data. This is, I like to say it's your data, Jim, because it really is. It's all of your project across the state. And it really is a breakdown, and you can see the kind of the dot plot there. You can click on all those dots and see what each project is. And then at the bottom, it lists when it was placed in service, when it comes out of service, how many units are low income. And I haven't seen any other state that has any data like that.
No, this has been quite a labor of love between our data and NDSU kind of crunching things, because one of the things that happens is, and you've heard me say that projects receive multiple layers of funding. So if you just report all of the units that we funded, it's duplicative, and this dedupes that. And we had to manually work together for her to understand different layering so that we could come up with, well, really how.
Otherwise, the number would be artificially high.
Exactly. And so that's fixed here. What is included in here is.
You have to
our-
manually do it every time.
So once we've got a model built, and now all we have to do is what came off because it aged out of its affordability, or what did we put onto portfolio. And we have decided, I think we're going to do it twice a year. So there's going to be a little bit of a lag, but not like there's that many coming on and off each year anyway. So we'll try to do our best to keep that updated. The other thing that's included in here, not just our portfolio, USDA rural development portfolio is in here. They shared their data, public housing. So the housing authorities shared housing units in here as well. So that's what's incorporated. What is missing today in this count is there are some, for example, Fargo has CDBG and home that they allocate. They've created some housing that we might not be involved with. We do not have those. We created that you can add your unit if you'd like. And so that's kind of our next step is for them. They'll create a survey, tell us what their unit is, and then we'll triage whether or not it's already in our portfolio or it's to be added. So it'll grow a little bit. This is just us, USDA, and public housing today. But it's super cool because the developer, for example, this is one way I see it being used. Sorry, Brent.
You're good.
I love that stuff. But anyway, it's super cool because a developer can see where in a community is there lacking affordable housing units in down to neighborhood area? So you can kind of pick, is there places where it might make sense to add some? Communities can then support that work by looking at what is in their community. So I think it's pretty
Interesting.
Yeah.
I was with a person who's from a family that does a lot of developing over the Fargo area last week and driving around looking at different places. And I'm just so intrigued, all the building going on downtown and then the surrounding area. And they're expensive. Expensive units, some are condo units, some are. And I said, there's no way that these are filled, or the streets would be just clogged with people. And they're not. There's a bunch of this. A lot of these places are just bleeding money down here. Like, so the developers just keep building these really high end, nice places. What's planning for the future? And I didn't really get that far into it, but I thought, so they're building inventory. It's all there, and there's all this other need. You just sort of wonder, there's something disconnecting there. I'm not sure what it is. Someone's not aligning incentives to people because there's a lot of capital that's flowing to housing production in that area. It's just one. It's anecdotal, but it's a big area, and with no idea that it's going to rent this month, maybe even this year. It's just going to sit there, and you wonder about that when there's so much additional need that we're trying to meet. I don't know what the answer to that. But somewhere we're not finding incentives for people.
I think some of it is simply the cost of the construction kind of makes what those rents are going to be, and it's not aligning with the need. So these developers must have an anticipation that there's workforce coming, which there is a lot of opportunity in North Dakota. So
For sure,
maybe
yeah.
they're reading some tea leaves a little bit
I
better.
just don't have extra money to build. If I did, I guess I'd just build one and wait.
Well, if you build a 55 and older apartment, it's going to be full within 30 days. Why not? No, to build and own. To build and own.
Is there any incentive if you're old and you're doing it?
Also, I think it's just so clear.
So we're clear.
Well, I'm aware of senior housing.
And then the last page there is just showing the home sales data from the multiple listing service that we've got from across the state. Some of this data is really fun to see. And this graph here was interesting because NDSU really struggled with the graph there showing that it went up to 10,000. They kept telling us the data's wrong. The data's wrong. And we're like, no, that data's right. That was after COVID. Rates dropped 2.5%. People were buying homes, and now we're back to normal. So it's kind of it's a fun give and take because they're really good at numbers and seeing things that are skewed, and we're good at telling them, no, it's okay. That's just an update on that. We've been kind of showing this around, different webinars and things. BND had us on a webinar a month or so ago, and we've been to people rave reviews. I mean, local communities and talks to people, Wofford City are like, this is amazing for planning. So
It's good stuff.
yep.
Good job. Anything else?
That's all we got.
So Governor, I do have one thing under other business for housing finance. Last month, we approved a bond resolution, and we just have to do an amended motion on that approval. The draft motion that you were provided by a bond issuance amount of 47.5 million. The actual bond issuance amount on the resolution is a little bit higher than that, 50 million. So we just need an amended motion for.
So moved.
Second.
Discussion? Roll call.
Commissioner,
Yes.
Attorney General,
Yes.
Governor.
Yes.
Thank you.
The only other thing I would mention too is we're hosting some community housing forums this fall in September. I'm not sure. My head September's a mess. But Minot, Bismarck, Fargo, and Dickinson. Minot, did I say Minot? Did I say 5? Like I said, it's a mess. But we just put those out for registrations. We already have like 65 registered in Fargo. So try to get some legislators there as well, and just talking about housing and different areas and what they see the need kind of before session. And it's good.
Does Commerce know about those?
Yes, Commerce and BLD will get there too.
Perfect.
Okay. Thank you.
Thanks, folks.
Good morning. Thank you. Hello, Drew. Good morning. stole it from Holman or something. Holman turned away and dropped it.
Hold it right off his neck. He didn't see anything by it though.
What I'm hearing.
Hi, new person.
Hi. Good morning.
Good morning.
This is Becky Collins. She's our new deputy director at the Public Finance Authority. She comes to us from BSC and prior to that, the city of Bismarck.
Ah. What are you doing for the city of Bismarck?
I was a comptroller for about 17 years. I did everything from investing to bond sales to you name it. So
Interesting.
Great.
Yeah.
Oh, welcome.
Well,
yeah,
good to see you.
originally I grew up in a small town south of Strasburg. So just really
And you're saying a small town south of Strasburg?
yeah, it's real small. It's called Westfield, and I don't know if
Oh.
you're going south. You know Westfield, yeah.
Yeah.
That hall, Westfield. So,
Westfield, yeah.
Well, we're happy to have you on board.
thank you.
Good to see you.
All right. Well, we don't have a whole lot compared to some months, but start off with Botno under the drinking waters requesting $3,647,000 to remove and replace their lead service lines with PVC water mains. They're eligible for $2.4 million in loan forgiveness, so this net loan would be $1.2 million. They are going to issue improvement bonds payable with special assessments. And based on that information, the advisory board can recommended approval of this loan. This is part of the 5 years of bipartisan infrastructure law money. And so getting down to, it'll just be pretty much lead service line money that you'll be seeing. And our cap grants, our base cap grant for this year was only $3 million. So the federal money will be much, much smaller in the future because earmarks have really made a cut into that. We used to receive about $12 million for the drinking water program, but this year it was free. So,
When will we be done with lead service line? Sorry, Commissioner.
lead service
Yeah, when
lines.
will they all be replaced?
So,
And do I have any?
well, depending on where you live, will determine that. A lot of the cities, it's going to probably take a good 10 years.
Really?
Like when the city of Fargo bid the lead service line replacement, they actually rejected the bids the first time they came in so high.
Really?
It's parts of towns, so it's not real attractive work because it isn't just go in and replace all of the lead service lines. Some places have been replaced, or some parts of town have been replaced when there's flooding. Those that have ended up replaced, so then it would be hit and miss. Some don't have any, some they're still looking to see where they do have their lead service lines. So that's been a hard thing for some communities. Some have really good records, so they know where it's all at, and then it's attractive to bid on. So I would say that this will be an ongoing thing. Typically, we have 3 years to spend our federal money. This money, they've given us 8 years, and we anticipate that, so the 2022 grant, we have until 2030 to spend it. And I anticipate that they'll give extensions on some of these lead service line grants just because it's going to take.
Interesting.
But there's definitely been the demand for the money. And I think what we'll see is at the end of it, some communities will find didn't need all of the money. Some communities will find they'll need more money. So you will get tired of seeing these loans come before you as they continue to have to adjust.
I
But
didn't ask because I was tired of that. I was asking, I mean, I think all you have to do to create the demand is say you've got lead service lines. And then it's all you have to say, and then everybody.
Yeah.
For PVC.
yeah, but at least
City
fortunately,
of Fargo, and they're like, well, we can't, I mean, it's,
we've been able to offer, 66% up to 75% loan forgiveness. So,
Yeah.
and that goes, most cities have been giving that to the homeowner. And so that makes it very affordable for them to be able to, or actually allowing a lot of times the homeowner to not even have a loan for this. They free of charge, and the
Yeah.
cities have been bearing the cost of it through their user fees.
Hmm.
So
So moved.
Second.
Discussion? Roll call.
Commissioner,
Yes.
Attorney General.
Yes.
Governor.
Yes.
the next two loans are for the city of West Fargo, same projects. There's two projects included in the loans. There's a clean water loan and a drinking water loan for two areas that they're doing a replacement of the water mains, storm sewer and sanitary sewer in the First Avenue and Meadow Ridge developments. Drinking water loan is $4,710,000, and the clean water request is $5 million. Both of these loans are going to be repaid with their city sales tax. They levy a 2.5% city sales tax with 1.5% that's dedicated to infrastructure repayment. The loan repayment for the drinking water is $196,000, and the clean water repayments $210,000. They have not pledged their city sales tax to any other bonds, so they have sufficient excess city sales tax that over the last 5 years, ranging from $8 million to $12 million. So plenty of excess city sales tax. And based on that information, the advisory committee recommended approval of both the clean water and drinking water West Fargo loans.
I'll move both.
Second both.
Discussion? Roll call.
Commissioner,
Yes.
Attorney General.
Yes.
Governor.
Yes.
And then there were three loans that were below the $2 million threshold that needed your approval. They were to the city of Almont and Castrol Water. And if you have any questions on those loans, I would gladly answer those. And there's a memo with some information on that.
Pretty straightforward.
Yeah.
Big ludicrous feed and all that.
Yum.
Enough for water.
They needed to make it smell less.
Well, my whole life without eating ludicrous.
You've never tried it?
No.
Yeah, you don't need to.
Lies for
Yeah,
other things.
it really isn't good, and you do wonder why people.
The smell of it alone is enough to keep this
So one of
German Russian
My
away.
favorite, quite tin, one of, like when people find out these from. Well, so you must eat lutefisk a lot. She's like, no, I eat Chinese food.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Big goose when people tell you yeah, I eat that, and then they start telling you the recipe, you're like, so the whole thing is just covering up the flavor of the goose. Yeah. Thanks, you guys.
Nice to meet you. Thanks for coming on board.
We're just gonna check to see if Kara is here or online, and if we'll talk to Kara.
Unrelated. That's all good. I played.
This is one.
Sorry.
Which is one. It's amazing.
Yeah. Never did. 5 minutes. Mhm. That should do.
Where you today? Yeah.
Enter Microsoft. It's not like a great idea. Hi.
Hello, nice to see you all again. As you may know, Nathan is on some well-deserved leave today, and so he asked me to come and speak on behalf of the Department of Mineral Resources. Thank you for having me.
Better be good.
I'll give you my best shot.
Yeah, better.
So, the North Dakota rig count is slightly down, this month to 24 rigs. That said, there are still that flat rig count throughout the basin. 3 rigs that are just over the border in Montana. And, we have heard that they're gonna be bringing one of those rigs back to the state next month or so. So that's kind of a positive piece. There are consistent, frac crews are consistent. Over months, so. As far as completions in April, we had 49, 55 in May and 65 in June. So looking at more oil production coming online. And the main reason that we're really kind of looking at that data point is because it's really giving us the understanding is if the activity level is pointing to our production level, our production staying flat. And right now, it looks like those activity levels are sort of in line with maybe just a slight decline. So really just all pointing probably to the greater importance of enhanced oil recovery. That said, we do have some good news that Continental Resources shared that they will be mobilizing a rig in the next few weeks, and they would be mobilizing a second rig within the next 2 months.
They're gonna dominate the news for 3 days like it did. That we talked about there. Interesting.
So we did see oil production decrease about 1.44% from April to May. May production was at 1.125 million barrels per day, and gas production at 3.538 BCF. One of the things that, on another positive note, is that in looking at those wells being completed, 67% of them have laterals 3 miles or longer. So pretty exciting news from the perspective of operational efficiencies and
Go ahead.
Nope. And so we're kind of talking about that piece is kind of a exciting point.
Yeah, some of it's where they're drilling, some of it's, you don't need as many rigs running when you're drilling longer laterals. There's also less footprint on the surface, and they're getting cheaper to drill. The frac crew number is, quite frankly, I think for all of us, as important as the rig crew numbers.
Yeah, absolutely. I would concur. As far as legislation is concerned, we're working internally on a few minor changes that we plan to propose in the next session. On the geological survey side, as you all know, Ed Murphy retired on July 1st, and we did host a gathering for him. That was quite nice. Dr. Clint Boyd has taken over as the state geologist, and Fred Anderson is the assistant state geologist. So all very exciting. And Nathan Wilkins did start as the core library and subsurface section manager as of August 1st. So also exciting news. As a special point, I wanted to note that the survey has had 13 days of public fossil digs this month. We've had over 170 participants, including teachers, taking part in a continuing education program called Fossils of North Dakota.
And an NFL sack leader.
Yeah, I was gonna say. Some pretty famous people showed up.
See, I thought that the big news would be that a couple days ago, we found a 5-inch T-Rex tooth. So
That's big news too.
yeah. But I'm not as excited about the NFL as some people in my house. So as far as additional succession planning, we do have 2 positions that are pretty relatively high profile, our HR specialist and our finance manager, that were vacated as a result of those folks accepting the VSIP offers. So we're finishing the interview process on HR and starting for finance. And we'll be looking to backfill the paleontology manager position that was vacated when Dr. Boyd accepted the state geologist position.
So Ed leaves and we have to find two people to replace him?
Yeah, one to tell stories about crazy stuff that happens out there.
He's done.
Yeah. Yeah, wild animal bites and everything else.
I will say that it's been different not having had stories in the office over the past couple of weeks.
You mentioned the legislative agenda, and I sure that it's part of that process is vetting that with the commission and talking to us about their.
Certainly, we definitely want to make sure we include, the mission, to make sure that we're all in agreement on where those priorities should move.
So have you started a list and maybe data on what's the average time for punching a well, spudding it? Like on a 2 mile lateral, we watched that over the years. So impressive.
Yeah,
What are
so,
we doing for 3 and 4 mile? And where are we at right now for a 2 mile?
completions, as we showed, we just kind of released this information yesterday, but, we're really seeing the completion, numbers fall. So this would be, wells that are waiting on completion, but it's the amount that we're seeing, amount of time that it's taking. So graphically, where we were even a year ago, we're really in a reasonable place.
Okay, those are completions. So what kind of days are we looking at? Are we 7.2, 6.1?
So,
Well, on a 2 mile.
the state, I don't have the information as far as the time off the top of my head, but I certainly could gather that information and share it with you all.
I remember when it was 32, 34 days,
Yeah,
once you put a well in place. And
I-
then we got, I think the record was like 6 days.
yeah, I know that in some recent conversation I've had, it's been kind of looking at like that 2 week time frame, but I'd have to get the exact
Mm,
time
okay.
frame for you.
Thanks.
Yeah. And then finally, we're working on finalizing the budget process. We've worked through several scenarios to sensitivity test a variety of situations and are settled on a scenario.
You weren't that bad. Perfect, thank you.
Okay.
Thanks much.
Thanks. Happy joining us remote today.
Hi, Kathy.
Hi, good morning. How are you guys today?
We are good.
Good morning.
Good.
You're up.
Perfect. The first thing that I get to report to you today from the agenda is our fiscal year 2026 transfers to the Ag Product Utilization Fund and also the General Fund. We closed our books earlier this week and on Tuesday made transfers of $1,317,092.85 to the AgPA Fund and $12,512,382.05 was transferred to the general fund for fiscal year 26. Any questions on that? Okay. And then the second item that we have on the agenda is to give you kind of a brief overview of where our profits were for the year, as well as our gain share. Profits for fiscal year 26 came in at $26,341,856, which is about a 1.3% decrease from fiscal year 25 profits. And then for gain share this year, our employee picnic is going to take place on July 30th. The percentage that we will pay out to employees is 21.04%. Which is a decrease from last year's gain share percentage of the 30.43%.
I would just because you hit 3 of the 4 metrics, right? Last year they hit all 4.
Yes, so this year we hit 3 of the 4 goals that were proposed at the beginning of the year. Last year we did hit all 4. And then I just want to remind you too, we also made a fairly significant change in the profit payout. This year, the first $10 million was worth 0%, where last year the first 10 million was worth 5%. So we decreased that by 5% on the profit side as well.
I just think it's important that people recognize these aren't like Christmas bonuses that you get every year under any consideration. I mean, you guys had a really, really good year and you did great work. And you still, I mean, like the bonus structure is designed to be achievable, but not automatic. And,
Correct.
and I think people, like, if they're done well, this is what they look like. And it's not a knock that you only got 3 out of 4 this year. We made some changes, and I mean, the overall economy is a little different this year than it was last year. And you've got a lot of things going on, and they're all good, but it's just not an automatic. You get it every year as a matter of course. And so tell everybody great job, and we hope they hit all 4 next year.
Yes, yep, I will do that. We definitely had some tremendous work by our staff, as we do every year, but we have a very dedicated team. So very happy with how we finished out the year. And then
And
for our
That's right. Like you basically closed your books yesterday, so we'll get it more. We'll get
Yes.
the August report. We'll give you a little more time to give it to us.
correct, yep, I'll do a full report as well as our strategic review in August with you guys if the time allows for the meeting agenda. And then just for our other business, I just did want to report that we did replace the chief financial officer position. We promoted Julie Leak from our controller position. So she's been with the mill for 6 years. And prior to that, she had 18 years of accounting experience before joining us. So we're very excited to have her as part of our executive team. I hope to have her travel with me in August so that you can all meet her.
Fantastic.
Great.
Anything else for the mill?
No.
Thanks, Kathy.
Thank you.
What happened to our other chief financial officer? Oh, thank you. I'll use yours.
Oh. Governor, I move that under the authority of the Century Code sections 6-01, 07.1, 6-09, 35, 44-04, 18.4, and 44-04, 19.2, that the industrial commission enter into an executive session for the purpose of making North Dakota confidential business.
Second.
Discussion. Roll call.
Commissioner, or excuse me, Attorney General,
Yes.
Commissioner.
Yes.
Yes. The commission is meeting in executive session pursuant to NDCC 60107.1, 60935, 4404, 18.4, and 4404, 19.2 to discuss Bank of North Dakota confidential business. Only commission members, their staff, commission staff, and department financial institution commissioner and staff, and Bank of North Dakota staff will participate in this executive session. Any formal action taken by the commission will occur after it reconvenes in open session. I remind the commission members and those present in executive session that the discussion must be limited to the announced purpose. The executive session is anticipated to last approximately 1 hour and will begin at 9:48 a.m.
Executives ended at 11:12 a.m. and the commission is now reconvened in open session. During the Bank of North Dakota executive session, the Department of Financial Institution provided a report on its examination of the bank. No action was taken. Also, during the Bank of North Dakota executive session, a motion was made and seconded regarding 5 participations. We will now call the roll call.
Commissioner,
Yes.
Yes.
Governor,
Yes. Don, you're up.
Okay, thank you, Industrial Commission members. We will start out with the CO update report, non-confidential. Happy to report on page 2 of the report, our annual goals for the year. We remain on track for each of them, prepping for the legislative upcoming session, working on the Rough Rider Coin pilot, implementing new student loan software servicing system, working on our B3, our Upper Midwest, implementing traction, and working on AI framework in 2 areas, both in productivity and in risk mitigation. Happy to report we continue to make good progress on all of our annual goals. Our company rocks. Again, these are broken out by quarter to support accomplishment of the annual goals. We ended up complete on all of our company rocks for the second quarter. I know that says Q3 there. I apologize. That is a typo. That should say Q2 2026. We are on track and complete on all except for the Rough Rider Coin related. We ended up at the end of the quarter slightly behind in our contract negotiation, in our due diligence work. Happy to report that we are now caught up here towards the end of the first month on the third quarter, but this is us holding us accountable. We did not complete what we wanted to at the end of the second quarter, but we remain on track for the annual goal around Rough Rider. We were just slightly off track for the quarter. There's no question on that. I will jump to page 3. And in terms of financials, we will jump to the second quarter performance highlights. And to kick us off there, I'd ask Rob, my Chief Financial Officer, to start us off. And I believe Kirby will cover some of that as well.
I'm tab 22.
Good morning. So we'll start on page 1 with the balance sheet as of June 30th. Total assets come in about 10.6 billion. This is slightly up from budget, relatively flat from this time last year. Total loans about 6.4 billion. Relative to last year, this is up 4%. Commercial side of things slightly down compared to last year. As you can see, the ag portfolio, obviously with the farm financial stability, is now cresting 1.2 billion. This is up 44% over 2025. And then our continued runoff of the residential portfolio and the changes we made in the student loan portfolio offset that growth to result in that overall 4% loan growth year to date. Turn to page 2. The income statement side of things year to date, June 30th. We came in at 129.3 million. Relative to budget, this is 5 million more. Overall, if we look at non-interest income, we came in a little bit under 479,000. That was driven by a reposition of some securities we did earlier in the year. Interest expense, as you can see, if we look at just compared to 2025, is down substantially. That's primarily due just to lower borrowings and a little bit lower rates. And then non-interest expense, which is really our overhead, came in at 21.8 million, about 4.5 million below budget, and then slightly up from 2025. I have you turn to page 6. I want to touch on this based on some of the comments we had in the VFI. On page 6 on the right-hand bar chart, you can see we run a comparison to different types of peer groups. So you can see BND and go all the way to the bottom. Our average cost of funds are 202. If we look at this compared to our top 10 participation banks, so we do about 95% of our business is with the top 10 participation banks. You can see our average cost of funds are relatively flat relative to our peers in those top 10s. So there may be some instances where individual agencies have, some questions on what we pay for overall funding, but overall, the bank is relatively competitive when we look at our top 10 peer banks. So if there's no questions, I will turn it over to Kirby.
Okay, I'll take you through originations and renewals on page 7. You can see just the tremendous throughput through the bank. Everybody thinks it's just on the ag side, but commercial has been very strong as well. In fact, we actually did more commercial loans this 6 months than we did the previous 6 months of 2025. So commercial's been continuing strong as well. The big story that everybody's interested in is the Farm Finance Stability Program. We do have 88 million left to fund. So that how many we've seen that likely in the next quarter for sure by the end of the year. But you can see we funded 390 million through the end of June. And then I want to give you a few stats on that. 70% of that amount was renewals. 83% of it's new monies to Bank of Dakota. Some other interesting facts on farm financial stability is the average loan size is about 700,000. If you compare our last stability program 10 years ago, 450,000. So average loan amount was up quite a bit. As far as how these are secured, our collateral was almost identical to our previous stability program. Real estate on this one is 56% compared to 44% chattel. 10 years ago was 57 and 43, so almost identical. Then you might wonder on watch list, where are we at as far as the watch list loans, watch list and worse loans? 21% of this portfolio so far has been on our watch list. So that seems like a big number. So you're expecting it to be around 25 or maybe a little bit more. Back in 2016, it was 44%. So shows you we've got more strength here than you think. I would say this time it's more spread across the whole state. Its scope is bigger. It's not just concentrated more on the eastern, third for sure half of the state like it was 10 years ago. This time it's across the whole state, but certainly we're seeing more strength, and because of that, only 1% is on the watch list. Taking to page 8, our consolidated loan portfolio, you can see as a result of overall balances, commercial continues a gradual uptrend. Ag sees the big uptrend. In fact, this is the first time we've ever been over $1 billion in our ag portfolio. So we're now at 1.2 billion. That's up 334 million on the year. And you can see our student loan and the residential continue to gradually amortize down. I'll take it back to the credit quality pages, unless there's any questions on the other pages in between. I'll take you to page 13.
Are you getting, how's the user interface with the farm? People have to, happy with it, but.
As far as bank,
Yeah, just between the community banks, between the ag producers, like it's, you said 88 left?
88 million left.
And that's just people, I'm assuming that's producer driven, not bureaucracy driven.
A lot of it's appraisers.
Yeah.
We're waiting on appraisers. Yeah.
Yes, the community banks and financial institutions as a whole, what we've heard when we've been out, I think all of us could attest, has been astoundingly positive in terms of how big of a deal it was, how important it was, how impactful it was. Process to do it, the flexibility it gives, well designed, well laid out, well executed. There's tons of kudos been given to our staff for moving that level of volume through in that period of time. So I think your question, it's been really, really well received.
So about 3 months ago, there was more questions about how long this was taking, and a lot of that was tied back more so to the lead bank than it was to right now. It's identifying appraisers. But is there still a lag with lead banks in the work they need to submit, or is it just pretty much appraisers?
Yeah, we've approved that 88 million. It's ready to go. We're just
Just
waiting on
needs the
funding.
appraiser. Okay.
We had some of that. I think that's just part of a large program like this. We were waiting on some information. We couldn't finalize and even get to the approval stage, but we're done with the approval stage.
Even like last summer with the disaster program. Somebody got somebody on site right away, and then other people had to wait 2 weeks. Like there just aren't enough and none of that's government.
Yeah.
Next, we'll go to page 15 for credit quality and allowance. You can see we're at about 127 million, about almost 2% of the portfolio. When you look at our allowance CECL model with support, we're actually showing a surplus. If you recall, last quarter, end of first quarter, we had a surplus as well, and we anticipated with all the bookings, such a heavy amount of booking of farm financial stability loans in the second quarter, we anticipated that surplus getting eaten into, and potentially maybe we even need some additional provision. As it turns out, had all those bookings of Park Financial Stability, and instead we actually still have a surplus. So we have a healthy surplus on our allowance, and it's because the portfolio is starting to perform quite well. We've been working through a lot of our troubled credits. We're seeing a gradual improvement in our classifieds and also our non-performing loans. So all around, impaired loans are showing some improvement as well. We're working through those. Because of that, coming off of a tough year last year, it's showing a pretty good allowance. In fact, a very healthy allowance that doesn't sit us. You see our credit quality ratios on the right side. They kind of align with what we talked about during confidential session. Both classified loans and non-performing loans are also showing nice trending in the right direction. Allowance as a percentage of total non-guaranteed loans, again, very strong at 2.4%. Go to the next page, our delinquencies. So if you look at year over year, 3 of our portfolios, commercial, ag, student loans, all showing decreased delinquencies. So year over year, portfolios are performing quite well. Residential is up a bit. However, keep in mind, most of those are FHA guaranteed. So not much risk of loss on that portfolio. The quarter over quarter, however, is up. So it's a trend that we are watching. We are want to make sure you're aware that we are seeing some increase in delinquencies, but nothing alarming. If you look at where we came off last year, we're in a much better spot. Oh, so but we are seeing some stress in consumer portfolios, residential. We're seeing it. Even student loans, we've been able to work through and keep our defaults down, but there's getting to be more and more stress. People are really feeling it. Inflation, increased costs, energy costs, cost of food. It's having an impact on our borrowers. So we'll see where that goes. That generally starts in the consumer and then trickles down into the commercial portfolio, and obviously, the ag portfolio is certainly under some stress as well. Last comments I'd make on this page would be our overall portfolio when it comes to commercial. 87% of that is captured in our non-accruals. So you just saw the non-accrual report. 87% of what you're seeing here from a commercial standpoint is already captured. That's 33% of the 38 million showing of issues in the commercial portfolio. On the farm side, we saw a bit of an uptick, and happy to report that is all in the direct farm portfolio, all secured by our real estate and in very solid loan-to-value positions. So I would stop my comments there and we can push it.
I would finish up the report, taking us to page 18, looking at our productivity. We continue to see nice productivity trends, specifically in earnings per employee. You can see we hit a new high there of 1.5 million per employee. Our trending efficiency ratio on the bottom left hit a new low of 13.6. So running nicely in the productivity range. We are refocusing on productivity looking ahead. We think AI, as you look at our annual goals, we're working on AI in the realm of risk mitigation and in terms of productivity. But we've also identified some certain processes and systems within the Bank of North Dakota that we're going to be looking at moving forward as a way to make even the non-AI processes and systems as productive as they can be. So Attorney General, to your question prior about the earnings of the bank continue to move up, we're really running a very lean overhead structure, which is great. We're at the point where we can continue to scale if we have the deposit funding to do so. It doesn't take a lot of overhead investment to do that. And our refocus on continued productivity enhancements should continue to see earnings strong moving forward is our expectation.
Any questions? No. All right. ERMF.
Okay. Yeah, the Enterprise Risk Management Dashboard. This is for the first quarter. This is our new Stifel dashboard. It is a big report. I just want to say 3 things about this report. You're going to see this quarterly moving forward. This is our new Enterprise Risk Management Dashboard. This is the best place for you as board members and our advisory board members to go and get a snapshot of how is the entirety of the Bank of North Dakota and all of her complexity, how is she sitting in terms of a risk profile. If you want a quick snapshot glance, you can really look at 2 pages, page 3 and page 8. Page 3 in the top left, it starts with our risk appetite. which starts with our work with advisory board and executive management stating, hey, what is our appetite to take on risk in a certain area? And then to get to composite risk from there, because that's just a starting point, then we start to lay in what are our controls, what are our policies, what are our procedures, what are our staff requirements, what are our approval trees in order to mitigate that risk appetite or to carry that risk appetite forward. So as a good example, in strategic risk, you can see that being in the orange as a risk appetite. That is where we are openly acknowledging that, yes, by stepping into things like fintech education on behalf of the financial institution industry in the state and things like Rough Rider Coin, we are engaging in a higher risk appetite. However, then when you overlay the controls we're putting in place, the approaches we're taking, the decision trees, the additional oversight, things like that, you get to the ending composite risk, which is showing low to moderate in that strategic risk category. And you can look through credit risk, interest rate risk, liquidity risk, operational compliance, strategic reputation, and IT security. So as you can see, overall, our composite risk rating for the Bank of North Dakota as a whole remains very well balanced in really the green and yellow categories as of the first quarter. If you jump right to the right, you can look at a very objective risk radar for the organization. These are really the key risk financial metrics that you can get a good sense at one glance on how is the bank overall doing. You can see things like ROA running in the green, net interest margin, we were running red. We talked about compression all the way back in the first part of 2025. That has moved up to the orange, probably move into a yellow category moving forward as we continue to improve net interest margin. Leverage ratio, running strong at 12.64. Non-performing assets, as you heard Kirby, our Chief Credit Officer, go through some of the noted improvement we continue to see in non-performers. And you can walk down through kind of those key risk indicators. So really a nice mix of green, yellow, a couple red and orange areas that we are aware of, primarily, credit quality indicators we continue to watch very, very closely. And of course, our net interest margin, which is the main driver of earnings. On page 8, and the first time you would have been introduced to this would have been last year's capital plan, when we introduced the concept of really evolving and getting a good handle on what is the holistic risk of the Bank of North Dakota. We now have that in the Stifel report, and then using that as the basis to build up and say, well, what capital should we be running at? And we've incorporated this into the Stifel report. We'll be able to see this quarterly, and then of course annually we'll use this for the update to the annual capital plan, the capital stress testing, and the dividend conversation that is coming with you guys here in the upcoming months. If you cut through the complexity, you can look down at the bar graph on the lower right. You can see our actual tier 1 leverage ratios running about 12.64. Our bank's minimum policy is 10. And so you can continue to see that based on the risk of the organization and based on where we're running with capital, we continue to run very, very strong capital at the Bank of North Dakota, well above our target. And so what that is saying is essentially our capital is well offsetting the risk profile of the Bank of North Dakota as a whole. And again, you will see this quarterly. Our new Chief Risk Officer, Ryan McKay, will be bringing this to you quarterly. I will as well, but just wanted to kind of reintroduce it to you for the first quarter. I know it's dated. The second quarter one should be coming in August or September here. And but this is a very good report for board members in order to keep a handle on the holistic risk of the organization that you oversee. I would stand for any questions. Just a high level credit quality. You heard some of this in performance highlights. We continue to see nice improvement in our credit quality indicators, so nothing more to say there. We've talked about liquidity on page 5. I won't readdress that, but I do put it in my report every month that comes because liquidity management and future deposit funding of the organization continues to be a high priority in my mind. And I believe that takes us to the end of the CEO update. And all we have left are 2 policies for your consideration and approval.
So
These
that's
policies.
20. Yeah, go ahead. You're up.
Yep, okay. These policies are related. One addresses the a slight change to the structure of the executive committee, and then that carries forward to the slight change to the structure of the advisory board. The change on the executive committee policy is on page 3 of 4. And essentially what this is doing with our new chief risk officer, and as we bring in and start to restructure the overall risk section of the organization. So part of that is the Stiefel report. Part of that is the tie into the capital plan. Part of it is, as we lean into new strategic initiatives like Rough Rider Coin, as we've picked up key talent in that area to lead the organization, this change really starts to begin to address the authority of the chief risk officer, who supervisory reports to me as a CEO, but importantly has a dotted independent line to the audit and risk committee of the advisory board. And this small change allows the chief risk officer to start making some decisions in terms of acceptance of risk, so that not everything is coming up to exec committee and advisory board, because it's the idea of everything is important, nothing is important. And that's one thing I've wanted to evolve in our overall risk area is I need the important stuff really showcased, and I need the non-material items to be handled at a different level in the organization, so that the executive team and the advisory board, and ultimately you as the industrial commission, those material items are more prominent for you, so that we can discuss those and make decisions around the material items. It's the idea of keeping the material. This change, both in the executive committee policy as well as in the advisory board policy, is a step in that direction. And I would appreciate your support for the changes and recommend approval.
So move.
Second.
Discussion. Roll call.
Commissioner?
Yes.
Trajan?
Yes.
Governor?
Yeah, I believe that finishes Bank of North Dakota business. Thank you, gentlemen.
You.
So point of clarification then, that motion was for both policy changes?
Yes.
Second.
As was the vote. See how I did that, all three of us? Thank you, guys.
Thank you very much.
Jordan, Outdoor Heritage.
Commissioners, to begin with, recent meeting about the Heritage Fund. Well, and so start with the financials. Right now, the uncommitted balance in the fund is still $2.5 million. You see the large committed balance that the fund carries. A lot of these projects that are maybe 3 or 4 year projects, so the nature of it, there's always a large committed balance. And so now the beginning of the second year of the biennium, the second $7.5 million start to fill, and it's usually over $1 million a month. So 6 months, that $7.5 million will be in the fund. So for the remainder of the biennium, there's roughly that $10 million available, and just under that with consider some administrative costs. So with that, the board had a good discussion at the beginning meeting. There were good different opinions expressed, and in the end, a motion was adopted to cap recommendation of about $6 million in this grant round, wanting to leave roughly $4 million just under available for the single grant. Some board members expressed a desire to vote on these projects strictly on their merits, and if most or all of the fund is committed, so be it, but enough voted to not exceed $6 million for this grant round. And so you see the 6 projects out of the 11 that were forwarded to for recommended to you for the level of funding. See, the total is exactly that $6 million mark. So 11 applications and 6 forwarded to you.
Is that determination made without prejudice to the ones that didn't get funded this time? They can be considered in December too, obviously, or no? Did they just fall by the wayside, or they can be considered later?
Yeah, they can certainly be considered in December. Yeah.
Did they give a rationale for why wait till December instead of?
Probably ask him.
Yeah.
Hey, you.
Well, I'm glad to be here.
I think the main reason was that they figured that there are those applicants that are counting on a December based on maybe the seasonality of when they apply or things that are counting on a December grant round?
Yeah, I don't have any problem with it as long as those didn't fall by the wayside. So you'd be in the mix, and so.
Of the six, we actually cut back all six of them a little bit from
Yeah.
what their funding request was, and we all encouraged them to come back and reapply and ask for full funding next time around too, if they so choose. So yeah, with the shortfall of dollars or the amount of dollars we had to work with and the amount of applications, it was an interesting discussion, and we moved forward with the $6 million so-called caps for this time, so we had some dollars for the next round. I think a lot of the members felt it was important that since we have 4 rounds every biennium, we continue to have 4 rounds every biennium. That may change with the next biennium, but right now we stayed with that and left some dollars for next time. I think it was a good discussion, and we're important to have that discussion and see where we wanted to go. There were some members that would like to spend it all this time, be done, and not come back next.
So right now, the way it's structured, you get half of what is appropriated or what is maximum appropriated, right, from the legislature?
We get $7.5 million for first year and 7.5 seconds.
So yeah, you're right. Century Code is 40 million, but
Yeah.
then
Oh,
so 15 out of it.
we're getting less than half.
So, and this is just the nature of government. I don't always like it, but have you guys ever had the conversation about scarcity might have an ability to get you more? I mean,
Well, yeah, we've had that
the
conversation.
plus side of doing it every biennium is everybody gets a chance every quarter. The downside is we deploy assets slower, right? Like, I mean, if you're doing it in the last quarter of the biennium, the money is actually not deployed or by the time the legislature meets. And I think it's a political conversation, but I don't mean politics like politics. I mean, like, if you ran, I mean, if you, and this is all wholly dependent on having worthy projects, right?
Right.
I obviously think one of them is very worthy. But I actually like all of these, by the way. I think they're exactly what the was intended to. But there is the potential to put some urgency on the legislative process if you end up in a situation where you'd be like, hey, we didn't even have our last 2 meetings because we had all of these awesome projects and we ran out of money in our second meeting. Because I think the way it's set up now, it makes it almost, it makes it to the point where the legislature is like, well, we're doing it appropriately. They're doing it 1 quarter, they're doing it 2 quarter, they're doing it 3 quarter. And I don't know and I don't even know what your board's thoughts are if you are underfunded, if you have a whole bunch of projects you don't get the ability to fund because of the constraints on it, and versus if you're doing it structurally. It's just, and we can talk offline a little bit too.
But we did have projects that I think would have been funded had we had more money to deal with. Plus, we, as I said earlier, we cut funding for these projects. So yes, the cap of 15 million is having an impact on the Outdoor Heritage Fund. The other issue that you mentioned was, do we spend it all in 2 rounds or 3 rounds and not have the second or third or fourth round, maybe do it all in one? We've had that discussion, and there are board members that would say, if we've got good projects, let's fund them and let's get them funded. This time we had good projects. We wanted to fund all those 6. So we split the money up to make sure they all got enough that they could go ahead and do their thing and come back for more if they need it in the next go round. Would we like more dollars? Absolutely. We could actually easily use the $40 million cap, I believe, and start, and we'd have more projects coming in because there's more money available. There were some good recreation projects, some good trails, or at least one good trail project that I would have liked to get funded. We had a good project come in from Williston for the shooting sports. Would have been a great project, but
I would bet there's a little bit of a philosophical debate on that one.
Oh yeah, absolutely. 6-6. Vote was 6-6. So it was a good philosophical debate. They always are. There's always a group of people around that like those projects, and there's a group of committees that don't necessarily like those projects. That's how the committee works. I think we came up with a decent compromise this time. We had some good projects. They all got cut back a little bit, but boy, it would have been nice to have some more money to play with and maybe even forget about the next time. But that was not the wish of the committee, to forget about the next round. We wanted to make sure the next round was available. So that's what we've been doing for the last 4. Is it time to think about changing? I think so. So with that, as far as the project's concerned, if you'd like me to go through them, I'm glad to go through them. If you'd like to approve what's in front of you, that's fine. If you have any questions,
I have went through them, so I don't need it, but
Yeah.
I mean, that's up to them.
I saw it. There's, some of it looks a little redundant, but I also understand they're targeting some, the scope is just slightly different on a few of them. Wanted to back up, and it's not necessarily dealing with these, but the soil health program, when that came before the Outdoor Heritage Fund, how well was it received by everyone?
No.
Was, yeah,
Was not received by everyone. It was, there were some issues with some of the farm groups with the rental rates on it. They were originally too high when it was proposed.
yeah, originally I thought it got
It
adjusted.
did, but
'Cause-
there was individuals that were informed by their organization to vote no anyway.
Oh,
So there was not unanimous, close, but not there. So yeah, there were some issues there, but overall, it's a great program and I think it's gonna have support.
well, I hope so, because a lot of what's being done here, so much of that is being encapsulated in that program. And I'd just like to see more funds available, or I don't care if we take everything out of the Outdoor Heritage Fund and put towards that, because it accomplishes a lot of that. Although I will say, I am not opposed to doing some community projects that I know a few people had problems with in the past about some playground equipment and stuff. Those communities are great. You need those. You need them to support those efforts. And in fact, in some of these areas where we have some of these projects, and I'll say what I told Jeb, I like when you guys do some boat docks and things like that, but what's the problem with having something adjacent to it that also fits another need, because it's going to support all family activities?
Absolutely. We totally agree with you. With in the past, there was 10% of the dollars go to recreation,
Yeah,
and that was the goal. And I don't think we ever met that cap.
No.
We got close.
we did the first couple
Yeah,
years.
yeah.
Well, the problem is then if you have that set and you don't have worthy projects, and
Yes.
you're trying to hit your
Right.
goal,
Yeah.
now all of a
Understand.
sudden you're funding things that if you would have complete discretion, wouldn't be in the top 10 on the list.
Right.
Yeah, that's right.
No, I'm just gonna say it's a process that we go through every time, trying to figure out which projects to fund, which ones are the best of the best, and that's what we try to do. There's always the group, we're not always unanimous, never should be. We hope we aren't. However, there are some good projects that have reached unanimity. I think one time, a couple sessions ago or a couple rounds ago, we funded every project that came in, and it was a round where everybody agreed pretty well. And so we've had some good rounds where everyone agreed. This time, we had some projects that were really good local projects that they were, I think, would have been funded had we had some dollars. But we prioritized, and trying to get habitat and access, I think, became the high priority.
Well,
In full disclosure to you two, I went and testified, like if I had my way, you would fund the habitat program, plant trees and fix boat docks for the next 6 years.
Then I wanted,
absolutely.
my initial comments were to thank you for coming, because we appreciate that support and we appreciate you coming and doing that. So
And we're working really hard to get all the ag groups to vote anonymously for this program, or unanimously for this program next time.
well,
There's been some historical skepticism that we've working through, and I think the problem, I am very hopeful the problem becomes, we've worked very closely with the farm groups and the ag commissioner's office, that there are going to be a whole bunch of people that want to sign up for this program because they want to utilize it.
Exactly. And
as far as the A groups, they do come with a different perspective on a few things, and I think it's getting much better. I think we've come a long way with some of those groups and some of the feelings they have about some of the programs that are projects that are coming forward. These projects are putting grass on the land. They're allowing livestock producers to convert CRP to grazing habitat. That's great. The Audubon Great Plains, which used to be Audubon Dakota, their last project had $20,000 20,000 acre impact on putting cropland back to grass. So we refunded that project. And that's going to be for grazing, infrastructure and for grassland habitat. These are all good projects to keep grass on the landscape for wildlife, for pheasants, for all the wildlife habitat that we.
But still working lands.
It's still,
Yeah.
still working lands. And that's the other comment. All these are working lands. The landowners' options to have working lands and to provide habitat at the same time.
Been having these conversations out in the ag community, and I'll tell you that if we get away from some of the groups that have agendas here, there's definitely going to be more support. And I think now that there's a better understanding of the soil health program, that's where they can put more investment, more resources. Outdoor Heritage Fund can support this without that agenda that's attached, and it's going to be better received. And that's why I think we can get everybody going in that same direction.
By the way, without any mandate, roughly half of it is in plots.
Yeah,
Without
exactly.
any, I mean, I think that'll be the bigger conversation, which you guys will have too, as we scale that up and put more acres into it. And that's what is how we ensure there's access without, I mean, I'll tell you guys the same thing I've told everybody. I'm never forcing these guys to utilize this program and force it free for all, open to the public, no posting, because I think we'll lose it. But I think there are ways in which we can get, utilizing technology to do some controlled access stuff that people will want to participate in.
And
Again, no mandate anywhere, but figuring out how, because if we scale it up, eventually we're going to start hearing from people saying, we can't have a private habitat program. We have to have some mechanism for some actual access. But the key to that is make sure we're not mandating.
I think Gabe's doing a good job of trying to get electronic posting to have some of those options available to it, and they're making progress on that. Being involved in the original bill of electronic posting, we talked about that initially, trying to get that accomplished, and it's just too early in the game, and now I think they're at the point where they can get it.
Yeah, I use me as an example. I have land that I would never put in plots, but when people call me to hunt, I let them hunt. I just want to know who's on it, because I may have told somebody they can go in on Friday, and I want them to have a good experience on Friday, so I'm going to say no to somebody who calls me on Thursday.
Absolutely, I think
That's right.
So anyway, if you have any more questions on any one of these specifics, I'd gladly answer them. If not,
So move.
Second discussion.
I think we discussed it. Thank you.
I could do the,
You continue this.
you and I could do this for I could do this for 5 hours.
Yeah.
This is important. We're under 40,000 in deer tag. And roll call.
Commission,
Yes.
Attorney General,
Yes.
Governor.
Yes.
Commission, if I can add, as far as the scheduling, speaking of more discussion, policy meeting, annual policy meeting will be September 8th for the OHF board. And I know you spoke at last year, Governor, and so just to have that on your radar, if any one of the three of you that have interest in attending that or speaking, giving 5 or 10 minutes of your time to share your views with the board.
Just the again.
September 8th.
I know everything's full, but let me see. And now that you have all the appointments made, correct?
Yeah. The board, I don't think we have any.
It's probably good to maybe come and talk with them just for a minute. Because I agree. If
They have remote testimony too, if you need.
just don't need some situations that we've had in the past where we felt strong about a project and then the Outdoor Heritage Fund said, no. Third project up in the Northeast. I know you were supportive, others were, but we had to fight through that one.
All right, thank you.
Thank you.
Thanks for what you guys.
We appreciate it.
We
It's
like-
been enjoyable.
The board was created to have friction, so that's not always easy for a chair.
Did a good job of doing that.
It's the only way it works.
That's true.
Thank you.
Thanks, Governor. Thank you. Now the governor's gonna be fielding a lot of calls for hunting. Everyone who's listening online.
If you
Okay, you ready to go on to the admin office? Yes. So first, under the administrative office businesses, we have consideration of approval of the meal president bonus for fiscal year 2026. So this would be Vance Taylor's bonus for the time period July 1st, 2025 through June 30th, 2026. And just as a reminder, when Vance was hired, his compensation package included an annual bonus opportunity of up to 30% of his salary. So for this fiscal year, the 30% bonus level would be at $122,078. This bonus is broken out into two components. One part of it is based on the gain sharing that the rest of the mill employees take part in. And then the other part of it is based on goals that are set forth in the strategic plan by the commission. So for this fiscal year, based on the gain sharing that Kathy reported on earlier, that component of Vance's bonus would be recommended at $77,315. And then for the other component of his bonus, I'm recommending $40,692 based on significant goals that were achieved, including bringing the MIDS storage and handling project online, passing the recertification of their FSCC version 6.0 audit, which is their food safety management system, the completion of the engineering for the e-milling project and receiving the Industrial Commission's approval on that, and then completing the Durham regrind capacity increase project and completion of the engineering and the Industrial Commission approval for phase 1 of the elevator terminal leg replacement. So replacing those terminal legs that are original to the structure. We all know that Vance was the longest serving president in the mill's history. And one final thing I'd like to just mention about his achievements in the last fiscal year is just really positioning the mill well for the leadership transition, which I think left the entire mill team and the Industrial Commission. So with that, I'm recommending the total bonus at 118 and 118.7.
So moved.
Second.
Discussion. By every performance metric they had.
Yeah.
Exceptional year last year. And
Yeah.
you don't do that job as long as Lance did and Vance did without, running into some conflict. It isn't political thing, but if you're not making your max bonus doing that job last year, I think longer.
Commissioner,
Yes.
Attorney General,
Yes.
Governor.
Yes.
And then the last thing we have is set of meeting minutes, and this is for the June 29th Industrial Commission meeting.
So moved.
Second.
Roll call.
Attorney General,
Yes.
Commissioner,
Yes.
Governor.
Yeah.
That concludes the administrative office business, and our next meeting is Tuesday, August 25th. That meeting will begin at 8 o'clock.
For now.
As soon as you have to move it or go someplace.
I'm just subject to the whims of the commission.
We adjourned.
We are adjourned.
Change my schedule.